So you arrived at this video because you want to know for sure, without a doubt, what's going to happen for the Phoenix, Arizona area in 2024, right? Right? Because this is a guaranteed what happens on this video will happen next year. Okay, that is not true. This is just my predictions on some data and some facts of what might happen in 2024. This is not set in stone. It's going to be my best crystal ball, if I had a bald head, of what I believe is going to happen in Phoenix or for Phoenix in a couple different areas in 2024. So thanks for coming along for the ride with me on this video and indulging on what we feel 2024 might look like for Phoenix, Arizona. My prediction is that you may need to buy or sell real estate in 2024. And if so, there's no better team than the Cook & Associates Real Estate Advisors located in Phoenix and Scottsdale that have currently over 430 5-star reviews on Google. Check them out. Now that first prediction is out of the way, let's dive into Phoenix, Arizona, and a few things happening in 2023 that we think are going to now happen differently or maybe more of the same in 2024. Let's start with the housing market, okay? Because that is the big one. That's what we talk about a lot on this channel. So what do we think is going to happen with the housing market? Well, currently we ended 2023 with the market actually in pretty good shape overall, given the circumstance of interest rates overall being very high in the 7s to 8 percentile range. Our marketplace still proceeded to outperform the vast majority of the rest of the country. In fact, the price point of $1.5 million and up was primarily almost unaffected by interest rates being high, low. It did not matter. It proceeded to move on traditionally as the market cycle for the season typically does. But the market under $1.5 million has been affected. In fact, it slowed down a decent amount because of the amount of buyers that were interest rate sensitive, causing the affordability to be a little too high for most of these type of buyers who would normally act. So overall, what does this mean and what do we think the market's going to look like in 2024? Well, that's going to depend on the second thing we want to talk about as well, which coincides equally together, which are interest rates. What are they going to do? This is going to be heavily dependent on what interest rates actually do in 2024. Now, just as recent as a couple months ago, most people didn't believe that interest rates were going to have any significant movement until probably later on in the year in 2024. However, with the Fed's most recent meeting in December, pausing any rate hike and then indicating that in 2024, there's probably going to be 3 reductions of the federal funds rate. This sent the market into a reaction that was pretty significant, causing the 30-year fixed rate mortgage to drop as low as just 6.6% as of a few days ago. That is one of the largest drops over a 45-day window in decades when it comes to the 30-year fixed rate mortgage, dropping from 8.03 just on October 19th all the way down to 6.60 here just a couple days ago. That reduction of 1.5% on the 30-year fixed rate mortgage has now sent the demand levels up just a little bit, not as much as you would think because of the December market here where you have Christmas and the holidays approaching and most people don't want to deal with real estate right now, but it has increased the amount of demand that we've seen typically this time of year. This has great momentum going into 2024, and I think it's going to actually explode when it comes to January, February, and March in the Phoenix market. You see, the Phoenix real estate housing market is very cyclical when it comes to the season. And January through March is always a big, not just a 45, typically it's like a 60-degree angle up. It increases dramatically. A lot more supply comes on the market, but a lot more demand all of a sudden floods the market typically as well. This happened last year too when rates were around 7% in the beginning of 2023. And we don't anticipate it to change at all, especially when you have this momentum of what the Fed has said, where people believe that rates are probably going to come down a little bit faster. Cuts will happen a little bit faster earlier in the year than normally anticipated. So I do believe that in January and February, you're going to see a little bit of a run on the housing market when it comes to demand for snowbirds and just regular people looking to maybe get off the fence to buy. You see, because the problem right now is the bottleneck of home sellers. That's right, people who own a home who would like to move but just won't because they have a interest rate so low tied on a 30-year fixed mortgage. But we know what the surveys say. The surveys say that over 80% of the people who bought a home in the last 2 to 2.5 years actually did not like the home they actually purchased. And if they could move to a different house, they would. The reason why is because it makes sense. Most people had to overbid, overpay, compete with other buyers just to get a house at that time because rates were still good and the housing market was going up in terms of appreciation. Things were getting more expensive and more expensive. So a lot of people did end up settling for a house that they really didn't love. Well, now they would like to move if they could, but because they have that 3.5%, 4% mortgage on their house, they're not motivated to do so unless rates came down just a little bit more. So I think as you see the Fed continue to drop rates, and the earlier, hopefully the better, next year in 2024, a lot of those people will be willing to trade their 4% mortgage rate for maybe a 5.5% or 6% mortgage rate just to get to that house they really, really want, whether it be upsides or downsizing. When that happens, the floodgates could be potentially unleashed to an extent, right? I don't think there's going to be some crazy run where it's going to be 2021 all over again. No, I don't believe that could be the case, but I do believe there's going to be a lot of competition and homes will start receiving multiple offers on them if the momentum of the consumer sentiment still believes, even before the Fed actually maybe does cut the rates, that is going to happen. So overall, predictions of the housing market in 2024, I do believe rates are going to come down sooner than everyone anticipated. You also have an election year next year and things like that nature. So the stars are kind of aligning to have that probably happen. And when that happens, demand's going to come off the fence. And we know that supply is already undersupplied. We don't have enough of it. So you're going to see the housing market run this way, I think, for most of the year. Overall, my bold prediction is that I think by the end of 2024 that there could be another 8 to 10% of appreciation across the board for the housing market in Phoenix in terms of pricing going up. But we'll see. Stay tuned. Next up, let's talk about the weather and what that's going to do in 2024. Nothing, okay? It's going to be hot. Hot, hot, and hot. Next up, let's talk about my predictions for weather in 2024 for the Phoenix area. It's going to be sunny, warm, and hot. Nothing's really going to change there, okay? I think I'll be right on that one. What do you think? Next up, water. And what role will that play for Phoenix in 2024? Well, I'm glad we are discussing this one because there's a lot of misinformation going on about the water issues that Phoenix does not have. That's right, guys. I said it. Phoenix does not have a water issue. Period. The end. You see, Phoenix has what is called a 100-year water supply certificate, okay? That is a thing that every single city around Phoenix and Phoenix has to have when a builder goes to build houses, let's say, and they're going to put development or population on a certain plot of land. Right now, all of the suburbs throughout the entire Phoenix area, except for 2, have the 100-year water assured supply certificate. So what that means is that every single day from today and tomorrow and the next day, there's always a rolling 100 years of guaranteed water in the ground alone, not even counting surface water, in the ground alone to supply the needs of that entire city, that entire suburb. So right now, there is at least 100 years of water for the entire area of Phoenix, except for 2 suburbs, and those are Queen Creek and Buckeye. Now, even in Queen Creek, most of the city, I think about 92% of it is actually covered under that 100-year water supply. But there is a small section where it's currently not, albeit there is actually some development still happening there because it's still a section of the city where the government still says water is no problem. And you have the far area of Buckeye on the West Valley, which is huge. Now, there is a certain section where the governor has said no more building because they're not going to issue that guarantee for that little section of Buckeye, which, by the way, is actually not a little section. It's a big section because Buckeye is the enormous, it's the second largest city for the greater Phoenix area when it comes to square miles of the borders of the town of the city. So it is big, but the developers behind it have a lot of money and they know the water is there. It's just a matter of getting it through the politics and the contracts that exist currently with how water is currently distributed. Now, did you know, I mentioned groundwater earlier, did you know that Phoenix is a big aquifer that actually is underground? Did you know that most of the water rights that Phoenix has currently, we're not even able to use all the water that we get on a daily basis distributed to us from the different sources like the Colorado River, the Rio Verde River, and places like that. We actually have an oversupply of that water right now that we're not using, so we actually send it to other aquifers because ours is full for it to be stored or maybe even sold to different municipalities. It's very interesting how this all works, but it's very reassuring to know that there is not a water issue whatsoever in the Phoenix area. And one of the good things to know for future sustainability about water is that Phoenix actually is the second ranked city in the entire world for water conservation behind Tel Aviv, Israel. Because of the climate and because Phoenix is forced to have adapted and use less water and get by with less for more and more people, it has done a good job with the technology to be able to conserve more and more water. In fact, we're using less water today than we were in the 1950s. Again, primarily due to the agriculture and less of that, while being more conservative in the technology around the agriculture that we do have here in the Arizona area, because Arizona still does provide a good amount of agriculture and crops, at least for the local communities here, that are grown even in this hot climate. So predictions for water and water conservation is that it's going to continue to get better and better and better, and that Phoenix has no water issues for 2024 and beyond. So let's quickly transition from water over to food. They go hand in hand, right? The food industry. Now, why is that significant? Well, let's just talk about that in the restaurant industry. Did you know that 2022 restaurants actually outpaced sales by over 20% from grocery stores? That's interesting, right? And did you know that in 2023, restaurants outpaced grocery store sales by 29% in the Phoenix area? So a lot more people were valuing convenience and eating out as opposed to going to the store to cook for themselves, which, by the way, does cost them less. They're willing to pay more for that convenience in 2023. Now, what the industry believes is that in 2024, we're going to see a little bit more of a shift to where that 29% comes back down closer to probably 20%, and that the industry for restaurants was great in 2023. It could be a little bit more challenging. Now, it's going to still do very well. They have no doubt about that, but they are saying because of the competition and amount of new restaurants continually pouring into the Phoenix area, that it's going to be a little more challenging for those people who are running all those restaurants and those businesses. So I just want to throw that fun fact out there that maybe if you're looking to start a restaurant in 2024, it could be a good thing if it's a concept that people really pick up on, but it could be a little more challenging because of all the competition and because of the fact that things are getting more and more expensive. So people might choose to pull back a little bit more on that convenience and then spend more of their money at the grocery store. We'll see what happens, but I do think that it's still going to be a great year overall for the restaurant industry when it comes to 2024 in Phoenix. Now let's talk about development here in the Phoenix area and the workforce. Did you know that starting January 1st of 2024, the minimum wage is increasing 50 cents to $14.35 an hour? It is one of the top 10 highest paid states for a guaranteed minimum wage in all of America. The main reason that is going up is to keep pace with the rate of inflation, according to the officials. However, in other news, I think in 2024, the workforce is going to be extremely strong for Phoenix. Here are some stats of how we're ending 2023. So in Phoenix, our unemployment rate is 3.9%, which is awesome. We rank 74% compared to other cities like us throughout America. The year-over-year growth in average weekly earnings is 2%, which is actually 46% in comparison to other cities across the US. So we're on the bottom half of that. The year-over-year raw change in total employment is 40,000 plus, which is great. We're 97.4 percentile compared to other cities across the country, which is phenomenal. And if you jump over to the bottom right-hand corner, you see the affordability index score is 99.1%. We currently rank 19% across America when comparing ourselves to other cities. So as you can see right here, we're doing a lot of really good things well at the end of 2023 here, but the affordability issue is still an issue. we need to get that up. We're at 19%, and primarily due to housing. So I think as we move into 2024, the development side needs to see a lot more new construction when it comes to single-family homes, as well as even condos and townhomes and affordable housing from that standpoint. There are a lot of apartments being built in Phoenix. We're one of the largest cities in all of America for multifamily development right now, and that spooks a lot of people because we do think that maybe there could be a lot of empty apartments that could be coming online as these are completed in 2024 because they can't be filled. But I don't think so. As much as I would like to see more homes being built, which they're definitely trying to do, it's just those take longer to entitle and then proceed with selling lots and getting them all plotted and things of that nature. So in the meantime, these apartments are going to fulfill a need for people who need lower housing, albeit they are renting. But hopefully all those people, as they get down and get their feet wet with some of their new jobs and things they're doing in the Phoenix area, they can transition that apartment style living into building equity for themselves by buying something that's more affordable when it comes to entry-level housing on the single-family home side. But here are 3 different categories I'm going to leave you with for my predictions that are going to flourish in 2024 in Phoenix. And they are healthcare, innovation, economy, climate, technology, and wearable technology devices. Those are 3 main segments that Phoenix is poised to make a strong run at in 2024. So along with all the development and all the different new employers that are bringing their divisions and companies down to the Phoenix area, it's going to be pretty special to see how Phoenix continues to lead the nation when it comes to economic opportunity for companies and individuals looking for strong employment alike. So what do you think of 2024 in Phoenix? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think my predictions are right when it comes to some of these things or wrong? Comment below, let us know. Let's get a conversation going. And don't forget to call. You can call me about anything, anytime. We get calls and text messages all the time from people across the country, and absolutely enjoy talking to each and every one of you guys. 480-660-5974, or shoot us an email at info@cookandassociatesaz.com, or just check us out on our Instagram page at Kelly Cook Homes. We're putting out daily content for your education and enjoyment. Don't forget to call me, guys, and let's make 2024 the best year ever. Call me.